Got it, got it. All right, Michael? Michael.
Yeah, I'm here, Raul.
Okay. I got the slides on my computer. How many attendees did we end up with?
Hello and welcome to today's webinar. A little housekeeping before we begin. Everyone is muted during the webinar. All webinars will be recorded and sent out to the attendees after the webinar has concluded. Tomorrow, the recorded webinar will be sent out to all participants. There will be Q&A at the end of the presentation, but please feel free to ask questions during the webinar by clicking the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Once the presentation concludes, I will ask the questions presented in the Q&A box. I may not get to everyone's questions, but we will do our best. With that being said, I would like to introduce you to Ruben Franco, President and CEO of the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, Edna, and welcome to Understanding Certification, Contracting, and Procurement series. We're very excited to bring this series on behalf of the Orange County Hispanic Chamber and our Small Business Development Center. This first part of the series is 2 parts on certifications, 1 part on doing business with the state of California, and another part on doing business with the federal government. We'll be doing another series right behind this on how to do business and how to do contracting with different players like Disney, Honda, and other corporations that we do business with and that are interested in helping some of our smaller businesses get in the pipeline to do business with them. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you our consultants who are experts in the procurement. Introduce Raul Medrano and Michael Farage to give the presentation. Raul and Mike, it's off to you.
Thank you.
Morning, everyone. I just want to thank everybody for attending the workshop. Ruben gave us the opportunity to put on this series and kind of help small businesses, and our goal is definitely to promote small business growth within our community, city, county, and on a state level, all the way through a national type of exposure level. So, Edna, if you want to click the slide. So, you know, what we wanted to do in the beginning was kind of break down all the acronyms or distinctions between the different types of certifications, whether it be federal, state, or somewhat of a private level. So this slide here just kind of represents the items that we're going to go through on a top level type of basis, where we can open up to further questions. So we'll go ahead and start with the next slide. So this is a federal certification. This is called the 8A Business Development Program. This is one that we are definitely very passionate about. We see this certification help growth in small businesses on a large magnitude. It's a timed program, and we strongly feel that small businesses really need to be groomed prior to entering this specific certification. It does have, you know, a criteria to be met in terms of majority ownership and unconditionally and directly controlled by a socially disadvantaged individual, along with being economically disadvantaged. There's a link on the slide, and we can talk further in what exactly it means to be socially disadvantaged and economically disadvantaged. Now, I wanted to present more of the benefit components to this program. And so the Small Business Administration has its own team that heads this unit or this certification. And so you get assigned to what we call a business opportunity specialist, and they are basically your best friends for 9 years. The program has the first 5 years of what we call a non-transitional type of component, where you can negotiate directly with the federal government on obtaining what we call sole source contracts or set-aside contracts, and not have to worry about mixing any revenue or revenue ratio criterias as they would expect in the last 4 years. So the first 5 years is free and clear, and the last 4 years they implement percentages of the small business, recognizing revenue away from this program, and so that's what keeps it in that time component. There's assistance and training programs that the Small Business Administration offers. Once you're in this program, I believe there's still a surplus buying program that's for 8A participants. You're able to join mentor protege type of programs, and these programs are other businesses that have certain expertise or areas or a little bit larger than the small business that can guide and help the entering 8A in contract opportunities, financial capital, surety relationships, and so forth. And then you can create different types of entities or joint ventures from there. There's obviously a government-wide contracting goal for this program, and we see this to be one of the most lucrative certifications that the Small Business Administration has.
Yeah, Michael, Raul, one thing that you have to remember with this 8A program is, these contracts are set aside for 8A, members. So, and that sounds great. And for a lot of companies, it works very well. But you really have to have, and I want to underline this, you really have to have the experience and qualifications to start landing these contracts. My experience has been that once you get a contract, a federal 8A contract, then usually, the other contracts, start coming in. But, you really have to develop a strategy initially, especially if you don't have the wherewithal, because, these contracts tend to be pretty good size. So if you have $1 million contract, you really need to have, some kind of a good cash flow to handle $1 million contract, even though the federal government pays relatively fast compared to the private sector. Okay, Michael.
Yeah, to piggyback on Raul, definitely being groomed for this certification is very, very key. And this is why the series and completing this series is very important. It's gonna kind of position you in an area of where you want to be, or if this is what you want to do. Definitely, like Raul mentioned, past performance is very, very critical. And so you will need a little bit of past performance to enter in these different federal markets or government agencies. So.
And that's why for smaller companies, the joint venture and mentor protege programs make sense, because you can partner with a company that has the experience in financial wherewithal, and you can learn how to get involved with the programs. Okay.
We can move on to the next slide. All right, the Hubzone. Hubzone's been around for a little bit of time now. I would say in 2008, 2009, a lot of Hubzone contracts started to surface. There was a lot of different types of recertification processes or opportunities that were changing, and we did see a start on a national level of contracts being awarded. And really what this means is there's you go onto the, it's a census-based type of certification based on geographical location of where your business and your employees live. And so when you meet those criterias, you'll have certain contracts that hit the market for specifically just Hubzone contractors. Now they've changed a lot of the rulings over the years, and now pushing into 2020, they are streamlining a lot of the processes with this certification. The Small Business Administration, they want this certification, done and said within about 60 days. All of these new processes are coming out here in 2020. They are adding a legacy employee Hubzone provision, which they're counting long-term Hubzone residents as permanent Hubzone residents, with proper documentations. They're loosening the restraints on simplifying the contract verification of these employment of these residents, demonstrating a percentage between 20 and 35%, living in these, Hubzone areas. The designations for the Hubzone map. So the way it works is there's an annual recertification type of process, and then every 3 years they'll do a full type of review certification process. And so they'll freeze the maps for about a year or so, and which gives a good opportunity for establishments to qualify for this contract. Roel, do you have any?
Yeah. One of the things that you need to think about, because we're going over a lot of these programs, and some of them might not pertain to your company, some do. But as you get involved with the federal agencies, it's important that you try to get in to a couple of, not just like say the 8A. If you want to do 8A work, a lot of times it's better to have not just 8A, but Hubzone and maybe WomenOwned, because that would help in working with these agencies. Because a lot of the agencies they won't say that they're requiring it, but they prefer to have a company that has more than one designation. So, and I'm not sure if that's driven externally or internally, but basically if they bring in one company that has various designations, whatever kind of reporting they do, they can show that they have companies that not only are 8A, but Hubzone, maybe veteran-owned, those types of things. So that's something to think about. Okay.
All right, we can move on to the next slide. All right, so we have the Women-Owned Small Business Federal Contracting Program. This is a two-part certification. So it's women-owned, and then further they have a disadvantaged women-owned, which would be the next slide that I'll go over. But specifically to this, women-owned businesses need more exposure, no matter what. And I'm passionate about this certification, and we've seen it bloom, I would say, within the past year and a half or so, where we are seeing contracts that are being awarded just to women-owned small businesses. Where prior to this, just like Roel mentioned earlier, we didn't know what was driven in terms of the awards that were being made to small businesses with different distinctions or multiple certifications. So some agencies were not publicly stating it, but were informally requiring various certification, woman-owned, 8A, service-disabled veteran, all in one. And so the the presence of the certification got just a little muddy because nobody was really buying just with that certification. But things have changed, and we've seen contracts specifically for women-owned small businesses, and a lot of these contracts people can find on the Beta SAM, which is your go-to for looking up federal contracts with various certifications. And then can you click to the next slide, because that's another women-owned. Okay, so here's the partner to just being the women-owned, and this criteria is somewhat like how the Hubzone and the 8A requirements are. There are certain things that you need to fall into, socially economic, disadvantaged, and so forth. And with that, you'll be able to get this specific certification. And again, we've seen great things move, I would say, within the past year and a half between both of the women-owned and the disadvantaged women-owned. This past year, we attended a procurement not a workshop, I'm sorry, I'm losing, conference in New Orleans, and the gentleman who releases and writes the rules for the SBA was there, and so there's going to be some certification improvements for these women-owned distinctions. So prior to this, these new rules coming out, you'd have a couple options. You'd have to go to a third-party certifier, and there's maybe, I would say, 2 nationwide, and you'd pay a fee to these nonprofits, and they would certify you, and then you go to the SBA, and then the SBA would have their certified platform, and you would go in and enter all this information and kind of self-certify with this third-party certification, or you could just self-certify yourself. And so now in 2020, the SBA is providing a new free online certification process, which is going to streamline a lot of the back and forth and using different platforms and certifying agencies. Another thing that's going to be coming out, if you have another certification, like through the Department of VA or an 8A certification that already proves that you are women-owned or disadvantaged women-owned, then you will be automatically certified with this also, which is great.
These certified federal programs, they utilize a database called SAM.gov, SAM.gov, where it's basically a database where you put information regarding your company, what it does, your various codes, and I would recommend this is used obviously for certifications, but it's also used by various government agencies when they're searching for a particular kind of company. So they can input some variables in there, California, Southern California, number of employees, size of business, your NACE codes, and they can pull out companies. So I would recommend that if you haven't done so already, that you register on the database sam.gov. Okay?
Sounds good. And I'll go over that right now too. And can you do the next? Oh, we're already here. Okay. So this small business designation and small disadvantaged business or basic designation with the federal government, like Raul had mentioned, there are some fundamental things that you need to do on the federal side to be recognized, right? Now, obviously it's implied based on certain size standards, but your first step is going to get a DUNS number through Dun & Bradstreet. Now, Dun & Bradstreet used to have a platform called iUpdate, and now they've changed it to, you know, their own contracting program. It's a free service, okay? Now, Dun & Bradstreet does have a whole credit monitoring thing, and, you know, they'll charge you an arm and a leg, but you really don't need it to get a DUNS number. So you obtain this DUNS number that shows, you know, who you are as a business, structure-wise, taxation-wise, you know, officers of the company, and then you go to SAM.gov. Now, what SAM does, it's going to migrate or pull this data from Dun & Bradstreet, and it's also going to verify it with different agencies like the Internal Revenue Service, and then ultimately the DLA, which issues something called a cage code. And you go ahead and register. You need to pick what your North American Industry Classification Code is. They call it your NACE code, and that's gonna be your size standard that's gonna live with you. And you can change it. So a lot of clients that I deal with are in the construction industry, and so they use a code called 236220, and it's a general construction class code. Now you can have multiple ones, but you can only pick one primary one. And so when you finish your registration in SAM, you pick your code. That'll kind of dictate your revenue size standard. You know, between, you know, some could be as low as 15, some can, you know, tip into the, you know, 30 million range, and get registered as a small business, and then ultimately if there's any of these other certifications that you want to do. And so there, you can see on the slide the contracting goal for small businesses is a lot higher than just, you know, just those certain certifications that we previously talked about. And so once you're registered as a small business, now you can go after small business set-aside contracts, and that's probably one of the most important things, you know, to talk about and obviously to do, because you don't need to have a lot of other designations, because the ones we've been talking about are social and economic disadvantaged distinctions. For this one is just pure small business. So, and there hasn't been any up or down trend. It's been pretty consistent. If you're competing in the small business world, you know, you're there and you're competing. There hasn't been any waves, which we have seen in previous certifications. Raul, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, let's go back to the NACE code. So, you know, you're talking about a primary NACE codes, and then you have NACE codes that you can put underneath that aren't primary. Your primary is gonna drive the kind of contracts that you're gonna be getting. So it's important that NACE code that you're selecting, like say general contracting, matches number one your federal income tax return, and the NACE code you use there, and make sure that the majority of your revenue comes from that NACE code. Because if you're saying as a contractor you do drywall, and then all of a sudden you say, oh no, I want to be a general contractor, you just can't change your NACE code without it being questioned. So give that some thought, and you know, as you move towards general contracting, then you should you know, you should try to get more and more general contracting contracts. If you apply for, say, the 8A application and you use the wrong NACE code, then they're going to come back to you and say, no, you can't do that. You know, so they get pretty strict. So although, you know, once you get in there, you can start working on small general contracting jobs. So you know, you can be an electrician and then start doing drywall and, you know, floor covering, you know, those types of things, and then get into your other NACE codes.
Thank you, Ro.
Uh-huh.
All right. Next slide, please. So the next certifications are through to the Department of VA. So they have their own portal, which they call VetBiz. I would say maybe about 15 years ago, they used to do self-certifying events, especially for the service-disabled veteran-owned small business. They've changed that. They've hired a unit called the CVE. They are very thorough in making sure that nobody is taking advantage of the veteran business owner. And this application and certification, it would be parallel as the 8A certification. So it's a very grueling process. And so you can be a veteran-owned small business or a service-disabled veteran-owned small business. Now, I work a lot with service-disabled veteran-owned small business, and the certification does not expire. Well, it's not a timed program is a better way of saying it. So you recertify it, and they're always changing the rules if it's, you know, every 2 years or, you know, it used to be every year, but the process was long. So now I believe it's every 2 years now. But the contract opportunities or opportunities for the veterans, service disabled or not, are very, very lucrative. And you have them centrally located throughout the United States. A lot of them in the Colorado area. If you're from SoCal, there's the Long Beach, there's San Diego, and they are always procuring within as they have to, right? And so even during the COVID-19 pandemic start in March, they were giving opportunities to veterans. They were on the construction side. They were having them create negative air pressure rooms, and so business was up through the past 3 months or so. I'm really passionate about these certifications. I know a lot about the veteran ones and how to navigate through it. There's other benefits. I put the link up there so everybody can kind of visit it on their own. But I can definitely have follow-up questions in regards to this program or these programs. Raul, did you have anything?
No. It's a good program, and you'll find that some agencies, like the VA, will only contract with disabled veterans. So for those who are vets and disabled, it's a great opportunity to get some contracts. So I think that's about it.
All right. Ro, I'll let you open up the state of California.
Okay. The next few slides has to do with the state of California. And we are very happy to have in attendance Michael Arguello. Michael, are you there? Michael? No? I don't hear Michael. Anyway, he had texted me that he was going to be on. But anyway, let's talk about state of California certification. What you have to remember about the state of California is that they do not have a minority or disadvantaged program, at least not at this point. That might change with what's going on right now, but right now they do not. What they do have is small business certification programs, and they basically give small businesses a 5% preference if they're certified through the state of California as a small business. And there's some size standards that you have to adhere to. I don't have them here in front of me, but they're pretty liberal. And so I would recommend that you take a look at that, especially if you see that there's some opportunities there with the state of California. The next slide, Disabled Veterans Enterprise Certification. So the state of California has a veterans program, and they want to give at least 3% of the overall annual dollars to disabled veterans. Now, you have to remember that when we're talking percentages here, we're talking about they're basically goals that they want to reach. There's no mandates that they have to reach them. So the only one that and that's why Michael really recommended the 8A program, is because that's the only set-aside program where they actually set aside contracts for disadvantaged businesses. So again, that's a good program, and it's important that you register with the VA to make sure that you get your letter designating you as a disabled veteran. Next slide. Okay. Okay, this public works certification expands the opportunities in the public works arena. So again, if you see that you have opportunities in the public works area, I would recommend that you get involved in this certification. I did, mention that various certifications, have guidelines that you must follow. Make sure that you really take a look at what is needed, and whether you qualify. Check, do your homework, check to see what kind of contracts are coming out. See if there's any way, if the contract is too big, partner with somebody. A lot of these contracts have a subcontracting requirement. So they might say it's a $5 million contract, but the prime contractor is obligated to bring in, 30% or give out 30% of the contract to a small business or a diverse business. So there's different strategies that you need to utilize. You'll notice that there's a lot of information here, and I'm sure for those who aren't familiar with these programs, there's a lot of confusion. So if you have any questions, make sure you contact Michael and I. We're going to give you our contact information at the end of this presentation. And I don't care if it's just one question or, a small question. Give us a call. We can clear things up for you and whether these certifications are meant for you. Okay, so the last slide for state of California is Caltrans. So, we talked about state of California not having a diverse program or minority programs or disadvantaged programs. Well, this is an area where they have to have disadvantaged business enterprise certification, and that's anything having to do with Caltrans or any federal agency, because the federal agencies will require the states, okay, we're going to help you with your Caltrans contracts and give you federal funds, but guess what? You need to sub out some of these contract opportunities to disadvantaged businesses. So the state of California certifies under Caltrans, which gives you the opportunity to do business with Caltrans under their minority programs or disadvantaged programs. So again, I know that this has a lot of information together, but if you need any clarification, give us a call. And then the next.
And can you oh, that was the slide that you were talking about, Raul, right there.
Yeah, the CPUC. You want me to handle this one?
Yeah, you know, we just got the Caltrans up. So Edna, can you do the next slide then?
Okay, California PUC clearinghouse. Okay, so this is for public utilities. There is a separate entity called the clearinghouse, supplier clearinghouse, that does the certifications for the CPUC. So if you're going to be doing business with Edison, AT&T, the gas companies, any public utility will require you to get certified through the supplier clearinghouse. And again, remember that you know, you have to be you know, the criteria for these disadvantaged certifications and designations is that you have to be 51%. The disadvantaged person needs to be 51% owner of the company. So if it's a corporation, that person needs to have 51%. And this relates to all certifications that have to do with disadvantaged individuals. They have to also show that they run the company on a day-to-day basis and they operate the. So yeah, you can't own 51% and be semi-retired, live in Hawaii, and not participate in the day-to-day operation of the company. So you have to show that that you are actually actively involved in the decision-making part of the company. If it's a construction company, you need to have a license and not have somebody else have a license. So there's a lot of considerations that you have to do. But in order to deal with the public utilities, you need to have this certification. And what they would also you know, want you to do again is to be at least 51% owner of the company and get involved with the day-to-day operation of the company. And that's done, you know, by several ways. I mean, again, you know, you have to have the license. You have to they might ask you to see the contracts, who signed the contracts, so they get an idea of day-to-day operations of that. So, okay, that's it for the PUC. The NMSDC, National Minority Supplier Development Council. Okay, this is another third-party entity. It's a nonprofit, but they have the headquarters is in New York, but they have regional councils throughout the United States. In California, we have an NMSDC in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and I believe there's one in San Diego. And the reason they've readjusted the entities because of some downsizing that they did. But NMSDC is an organization that really advocates for minority businesses and is supported by most national corporations. So this is a certification for private sector companies. So if I'm, say, Disney, any of the airlines, any of the banks, they are number one, members of NMSDC, but also will require you 99 times out of 100, they'll require that you have the National Minority Supplier Development Council certification. Now this is, out of all the certifications that we discussed today, this is the only one that charges a fee for processing your application for certification. So it's going to cost you, and depending upon the size of your company, will depend upon the fee that you're going to have to pay. The larger the company, the larger the fee. That being said, though, if you're interested in like I said, I would have to say 90% of your national corporations belong to the NMSDC. So if you're interested in doing business with these large companies, you know, then I would recommend that you get this certification. And even though it costs you, they have events that they put on, both on a regional basis and national basis, where you can go and meet with these companies and discuss what they're doing and what kind of contracts they have. It might be a little tough in today's environment because of what's happening, but I don't expect this quarantine to last forever. So eventually they're going to have to come out of their shells and, you know, and start doing business as usual. Right now, you know, most corporations that I've talked to, they're not letting their employees travel till next year, if that. So it's going to take a while for them to start traveling like they used to. As you see, even with this webinar, usually these workshops are done in person at the SBDC office, but now we're doing it, you know, webinar. So most companies are utilizing those type of services. So you're going to have to tweak your marketing strategy a little bit, and we'll be talking about, you know, marketing in our next workshop. So give that some thought. I go every year to the NMSDC annual conference. It's usually, they move it around from city to city. There's usually about 700 major corporations there, at least. And they have one big expo, and, you know, it's your opportunity to get in front of these people, you know. So you have to develop a strategy, and I usually go up there, you know, say hello, give them my card, give them a corporate capability statement. 90% of those corporate capability statements or you know, any of your printed material probably will not get to their office. But you know, but at least you met with them, and then you follow it up with phone calls and meet, and your goal is to meet with these people. Yeah, now it's by phone, but eventually, you know, get to know them a little bit better and have them get to know your company. But we'll be talking about marketing in our next segment, so keep that in mind. The next slide, we have contact information for Michael and myself. So we'll be glad to give you a call and discuss what your goals are. You know, one thing to remember is just because you're certified doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to knock on your door and say, here's a contract for you. As I always tell people, these certifications is kind of like a hunting license. You know, now you have your hunting license, now you can go out and hunt, you know. So this gives you your opportunity to go out and hunt and utilize these programs that will be able to leverage your opportunities within these companies. Anything else, Michael?
No, I encourage everyone and thank everyone to go ahead and complete the series. I think it's important to. There's going to be guests throughout the series from the state, from the Small Business Administration. So I think there's value in it. And again, like Raul said, we're kind of tweaking everything how we go because we planned on rolling this out. You know, at a large conference back in June, and so now we're doing the webinars, and then we'll get the large businesses and everybody involved at a later end.
Hey guys, this is Ruben. We do have a guest on the line with us, Michael Angulio from the Department of General Services of the state of California. Michael's going to be doing our third in the series of how to do business with the state. Michael, do you want to say hi real quick? Edna, can you unmute Michael?
Oh, can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Thank you. Just needed to unmute me. I was sitting in the background. Well, we're proud to be a part of this webinar. You guys did cover a lot of information that we had. We definitely have a huge interest in making sure that small businesses and disabled veteran business enterprises businesses are involved in state contracting. We do have 3 certifications as you guys put forward: the small business, disabled veteran business enterprise, and the new one, which is small business public works certification. I have all the information that I can send to the Orange County Chamber of Commerce, where they can distribute at their own convenience. If you guys have any specific questions, by all means, let me know.
That's great.
I think we might have had a question about the state.
Yes. What was it?
You know, here, let me pull it up. I think somebody noted about the Cal Procure, and I mean, they stated that it was confusing, and if there is just a link for any of the application processes.
There is one specific link that you can go to for the application process itself. Cal Procure has a lot of information on there, but if you're not knowing where to look, it can be, like they indicated, very cumbersome. But if you do go to the Cal Procure website, you go to the far left button that's over there, certification, click that, and it'll walk you through the steps real easy. For those of you who really want more help, I'll leave also my information, contact information with the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and then you can reach out to me directly, then I can help you as well.
Great. Thank you so much. We look forward to hearing you on the 3rd in our series of and how to do business with the state of California. But Michael, thank you for your partnership. And we have some questions for Michael and Raul regarding some of their presentation. Is 8A only for construction contracts?
No.
8A is not.
No, it covers everything that the federal government will buy. So, you know, it's your job to find out, you know, what they're buying, and, you know, also, you know, what helps is to find out, you know, where the hot spots are in terms of buying. So, you know, a lot of times they have trouble finding qualified 8A firms that, you know, will handle a special product. So, but no, it's for everything. Although there's a lot of contractors that go into the 8A program, and it's probably one of the more lucrative areas because of the size of the contracts. So, okay.
Where can you go to find hub zones in your area?
You could go on the link. You know, you can just Google search Hubzone, but I think I put the link in one of my slides. There should be a further link that maps everything out to, and you just type in your address. So that's always been an easy part that Hubzone has, you know, provided, you know, the census data of where these underutilized areas are.
Yeah, and you can also access it on the SBA website. So you can, you know, search for Hubzone, and then it's a pretty easy process. You input your zip code, and it'll let you know whether you're Hubzone or not. Also, it usually has a map to show you where the Hubzone areas are, in case you want to move there. You know, and don't think that all these Hubzone areas are just depressed areas. I mean, there are Hubzones in and around UCI. There are Hubzones here in Orange County at down south. There's an area where they have a lot of high-rise buildings, and so there's some pretty nice areas that are Hubzone. So,
okay. Another question. I'm already certified with the City of Los Angeles as a MBE and a WBE. can that be used for the federal certification?
I'll answer this one, Raul. No, you need to go through the process with the federal sites. So the first one, like I said, get the DUNS number, which you might already have, and then you need to register on the System of Award Management. That's the recognizing portal for the federal government, and that's where you can find firms and there's contract opportunities. The federal government cannot award you a contract unless you're registered within this platform and you're in good standing. And good standing is not in debt. There's some character things, so there's certain things, other underlying tones. But feel free to reach out to us, and we could explain further.
Okay. If I haven't been in business for 2 years, can I still get an 8A certification?
I can answer this.
Yes, you can, but it requires some additional steps. So if you're just a startup, it'll probably be very difficult to do that. But if you've been in business, say, for over 1 year, and then there's a process that we use to overcome the 2-year rule, which would include your ability to manage a company and also your financial strength to handle federal contracts, okay? Now, I know what you're saying, that 2 years doesn't necessarily mean that you're ready to handle federal contracts, and I have to agree with you, but that's their rule. And so they feel that anybody that's been in business for 2 years is able to handle, contracts. So, and I've seen businesses that have been in business for less than 2 years that, because of their background and experience, they can handle larger contracts. And some of them that have been in business for 5 years and can't handle, government contracts. So, anyway, the short answer is yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Where can I see a list of services or products that the state or the federal government is in need of?
Well, I would, number one, start off with your SBA, your local SBA office, and speak with one of the 8A specialists that can help you determine, what kind of contracts they're looking for and which ones they really need. So now that can help you in terms of, changing your company's experience and background to handle those kinds of contracts. But, if you've been, say, an IT person, all of a sudden want to go into construction, there's going to be some questions regarding that. So.
Okay.
Well, as far as I got something real quick. As far as the state, all of our solicitations are on the Cal eProcure website. But you also know that the state does not advertise all its solicitations. Anything under $250,000, the state will go into its small business database and get 2 quotes. So everybody needs to be aware that not everything the state buys is advertised, although much of it is on the state Cal eProcure website. The other thing that I recommend is that as you're looking at there's 2 programs, the federal program and the state program. So you got to definitely make sure that you understand and distinguish between the 2. The state also refers businesses to the SBA small business, SBDC, small business developmental centers, and also the PTAX, which can help businesses that need the expertise without paying any additional fees, because it's all paid with your taxes, and get the expert help that you might need, either through or seek the help from the Orange County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce that actually can give you some information on where to go or how to get some help. So those are little things tidbits that I think the businesses and attendants should know.
Yeah. And thank you, Michael. Ruben, I have one thing to say also too. Thank you, Michael. On beta.sam.gov is gonna be your solicitation type of portal for what the federal government is buying. And again, like I mentioned in some of these programs in the beginning, there's a lot of the 8A offers negotiated contracts and so forth. So not everything's going to be posted here, but if you want to search out contract opportunities on the federal sector side, that's a great point. And there's good old marketing too. So knocking on doors, maybe not right now, but that's how a lot of contracts are awarded within the federal government.
Yeah, we're getting asked if we could share these slides, and we will be sharing these slides with everybody on the call today, as well as, which also has Michael and Raul's contact information for further help. And just so everybody knows on this call, all these resources are provided to you at no cost. We are funded by the Small Business Administration, as well as the Governor's Office of California, and other funders like U.S. Bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Comerica, and other companies that are generous to help with small business. So we're very fortunate to have that and be able to offer this to you because of that. And please engage with us. Do you guys have, Michael and Raul, have any last words as we end this webinar? I just want to let people know, please register for the next one, which is a week from today, and the third one, which is 2 weeks, and the fourth one, which is 3 weeks from today. Any last words?
Yeah, thank you, Ruben. I just want to let everybody know, please, use the chamber and the SBDC. Like Ruben said, this is free of charge to you. Both Raul and I are private business owners, so this is something that we give back to small businesses, and so our contact information is there. Attend all the different webinars, and that's really it for me.
Yeah, I just want to underline the fact that what Michael said, and that's, complete this series of workshops. I think this is going to arm you with a lot of good information on how to get contracts, and even if you're not ready right now, it'll tell you what you need to do to get ready. And I've done a lot of workshops like this, and I've told people about what kind of business what their business needs to look like to get these contracts. And a lot of them came out and said, I asked them, what do you think of the workshop? They go, well, I really didn't want to hear what you had to say, but I'm glad you said it, and now I know what I have to do. So I think this gives you an idea of what you have to do. The next workshop, we're going to get into the details of marketing and how I have been successful. This is not going to be the only way to do things, but it's worked for me, and I've been in business for 25 years. So it's something to think about, but everyone has their own way of doing things. So whatever you feel comfortable in doing. But I look forward to participating in our next workshop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raul. Thank you, Michael. And thank you, Michael Anguillo from the state of California, and everybody on the call today. We look forward to hearing from you, and please join us next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.